BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Falling in love is one thing. Having anxiety about falling is a whole different subject. If you or a family member are concerned about falling, and yes, either up or down the stairs, or maybe even out of bed, St. Barnabas has a special message and some ideas just for you. Years of experience in working with people who are prone to falls has given St. Barnabas special expertise in this area. Call them at 724-443-0700 and learn about ways that you can begin to feel more confident and safe, including suggestions that you can implement right now into your daily routine. Call St. Barnabas at 724-443-0700. For many years now, St. Barnabas has been helping people fall in love, that is, with their new, better life, a longer life, a risk-free life. Call St. Barnabas now at 724-443-0700 or visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com and learn more about living longer and better.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddy Crow.
It is Teleforum. It's 12 minutes after 9. I'm sorry. I'm flabbergasted because I am in the presence of greatness. The reps. The reps. It's Rappin with the reps, and I have two people in here both coming off big wins. You move forward in the playoffs now, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Josh Kail is my guest. Jim Marshall is my guest. You can see them live on your TV screen or computer. This is being live streamed. And is this, Jim, I'll start with you, Jim Marshall, representative for the 14th District. I'm looking at your numbers. 19,720, and you beat your opponent by over 10,000. Did you expect it? Were you hopeful? But where were you going in?
Well, you're always hopeful. I mean, you want to run like you're behind, but you expect to be ahead. And I think the numbers were good. I'm honored to be elected again to represent the 14th District. It's a great opportunity to serve friends and neighbors, and I'm glad more so for the turnout. My numbers are irrelevant, but I think the turnout was great. It's good to have engagement. It's good to have people involved in elections.
It was over 60% turnout for Beaver County. It was a huge number. Well, congratulations to you, and congratulations to the guy sitting next to you, Josh Kail. I got questions for you, Mr. Kail. First
Yes,
off,
sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Eddie.
15th District, you will represent a gain. Who did you make mad that there were 1,139 write-ins?
I had a bunch of friends texting me telling me they wrote in Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and all that stuff. But no, I'm happy with how the whole entire election season went, and you can never take it for granted. And you got to keep focused on your district and serving the constituents. And I'm honored to have the opportunity to do so again.
Well, honored to have you here with Rappin with the reps. I saw that, and I'm looking through the numbers yesterday. By comparison, how many did you have? There were 74 write-ins in your district, Jim.
Okay.
74.
Okay.
And then I look at that number, I'm like, okay, Kail must have made somebody
Well,
mad.
so,
and now that makes sense. Your buddies are like, well, one vote, he's going to win.
On my ballot, too, there was a circle for Republican, and that was me. And then there's a circle for Democrat and a blank. And so it's just you had the ability just to write somebody in.
Whoever I could write Abe Vigoda in and vote against you.
Yeah.
I started to say that won't work. He's dead, but obviously the DeLuca story, that doesn't necessarily stop it, does it?
And Josh is so young, he doesn't remember who Abe is.
I don't.
It's you and I, Eddie.
Did you ever watch Barney Miller?
I'm not sure who Barney Miller is.
and you think you can represent me? How big a deep breath comes out when the election's over, Jim? Win or lose, that's got to be exhausting because it's a dog and pony show for months.
It is, and we're always engaged. It's a 2-year cycle, so we're always at it. And election day, it started out. I was at Orem's at 6:30 in the morning picking up donuts for the fire department.
Can't believe
I was at polls.
We
all
were
day.
here. Did you bring us?
No,
It's a half a
I didn't.
block.
I didn't bring them
You're
today
not,
either.
No. What's the argument? You're not in my district.
No,
Okay.
no. You could walk over anytime, Eddie.
Very true.
You're a celebrity. They'll probably give you donuts.
Yeah.
But it's all day at the polls. I went to probably 25 polls out of 45, and
Are people surprised when they walk up? Because walking to the polling place, you expect people to be handing you pamphlets and vote for this person, that. But when they walk up and actually see a candidate, do they go, "Oh"?
they'll stop and talk
Will
a
they?
little bit if they know you're actually running. A lot of folks already know where they're going to vote when they get to the polls. And,
Okay.
a number just walked by. Some are gracious and some are not. But when somebody says, "Oh, this is," I was at a poll with a volunteer and she said, "And this is Representative Marshall here," and so that gets their attention. They say a few words, talk, and
Okay.
so it's good. It's good to be at the polls, and it makes a long day. And then we were up watching results till 11:30 or 12, and then I was up again at 5 or 5:30 to see what the results were statewide. So yeah, it's exhausting, but it's so rewarding.
Josh, do you pay attention to the national stuff that's going on, or are you
Yeah,
so hyper focused because of what you're in the middle of?
No, the first round of focus is certainly on the state house, your own race, your neighbors' races, what's happening in your region, and then it's hard to miss when you start going back and reading the news, the national news, and
It's hard to
what's
get
going
away
on
from
there.
it.
You can't really get away from it. And you start analyzing that in the context of what you just went through and how it impacted local races, how it didn't impact local races. And, the fog of war is kind of settling right now, and I think people are starting to look at elections in different areas, whether it's here or in Florida or in Georgia. Arizona's still out counting, and Nevada's still out counting. And, it's going to take a couple of weeks really to digest and to analyze and to move forward. And now for us, I think at least for us, the holiday season's coming. The kids are getting excited about being off for Thanksgiving and then obviously for Christmas. And it's a nice time of year to kind of refocus and get really focused on the important things with family, with friends, and start understanding how you're going to do better as far as representing the new district, because each of us have a new district to represent this
True.
year. My district is about 30%, 40% new. And what that's going to look like and how you're going to have events in different parts of the district so that you can get out there and get to know as many people as you can so that they know you're accessible. And that's where you go. And Jim's right. We run every 2 years. And if our ear isn't to the ground in our own districts, then you're going to end up with a problem.
Or surprise, at least.
Surprise. And so I think it's important that you get out there, you stay out there, and you keep providing those services that matter to everybody. Republican, Democrats, independents, it doesn't matter whether they're registered or not. You have a service to do. You have a job to do for the constituents within your district, and that's what the focus becomes now.
When you were both out canvassing, Josh Kail and Jim Marshall are my guest state representatives. It's Rappin' with the Reps, and you can listen like you're doing, or you can watch this as you might be doing. This is being live Facebook streamed. When you were out canvassing, what was the first thing you heard most often? You asked somebody, what's the biggest issue going into this election? Jim, what were people telling you most first?
Well, I have to say, surprisingly this year, we saw less volunteers outside the polls. So, you would approach the poll, and typically there's half a dozen folks handing out material. That wasn't the case. So a lot of them you would go up to the poll and you would just get, the exit interviews, the people that just came out.
Why did you do what you just did? Questions, sure.
And it seemed like it was more just everybody said it was their right to vote. it was important. They didn't cite reasons, but they knew that it was a value, and it was important that they got out to vote.
And that would explain the turnout.
And I think that explains the turnout. Everybody wanted to vote. I mean, there were some folks that are angry and some folks that were not, but no one cited specific reasons.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't like, well, yeah, it's the economy, or it wasn't like policy changes. It was, we just need to vote. So,
Josh, what about you?
Yeah, one of the major things that I heard was energy prices were probably top up there as far as what people were talking about, and not just gas, but electric bills. And this is particular the last couple of weeks because I think we've seen the increase again in our electric bills and gas.
Just saw it yesterday.
Yeah, and people, it becomes concerning as we go into winter because we know that those electric bills don't get cheaper as the weather gets colder, and I think that is going to be on the top of people's minds going forward for the next couple of months.
Josh Kail and Jim Marshall are my guests. It's Teleforum. It's Rappin with the Reps on Beaver County Radio, AM 1230 WBVP. AM 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM and 95.7 FM. When you do get back to work, is it tough because of the Christmas break? Is it tougher because you got to get geared back up to legislating rather than campaigning?
So for us, I mean, in our spot, I know it's different for you, James, but I kind of feel like I am a first-term legislator again because I'm getting my office together. We had to move our office from Center to
that's right,
to Vanport, and so we don't have our system in place yet. Everything's kind of all over the place, and that's how it was for the first couple of weeks when we won the first time. So we're working on getting our sign together, letting people know. It's just that office. It wasn't just mine. Before I was there, Representative Christiana had his office there as well. So people were used to going there. And I no longer represent Center Township, and people there were used to going to the office in Center Township. So, it's going to be a change. And so we're trying to make sure that people know that. We're trying to generate some people coming in so that they know where to go and they know the services that we can provide. So the focus has been almost exclusively since the election on how do we get this office up and running as quickly as possible. And that's what we're doing right now and making sure that we can provide the services to our constituents that we need to do.
Yeah, for me, it was business as usual. I was back in the office yesterday. We're always problem solving. There's folks that come in with issues with PennDOT, with licensing. We're there to resolve problems, and I was busy in the office yesterday.
Did you have a party after the election when you knew that you won? Did you have a party?
I actually had a party, a thank you party for folks that have helped me for the last 16 years. So we had a great turnout, and it was nice to put together such a wide group of supporters.
I suspect there were people there that, I didn't know you did this. I didn't know you knew him. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. Actually, two guys came in and they both work at VECA, and what's the connection? How do you know Jim? And so it's great.
Josh, did you have a party when you came in triumphant over the write-in guy? What song
I was
were you
at
playing?
one, and you always got to find a way to say thank you to the people that volunteer for your campaigns.
Countless hours.
There's a lot of work that goes into these campaigns, even at our level. Even though it's not a massive governor's campaign or presidential campaign, you have people that believe in what you're doing, that care about you personally. And
an emotional investment.
They'll do whatever they need to do to help you win, and they do it every 2 years. It's not easy for those volunteers either to do that every 2 years, and you got to say thank you.
Josh Kail is my guest, and so is Jim Marshall. Jim is the 15th District State Rep. Josh, the 16th. Rapping with the Reps continues after news on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio.
Insurance doesn't adequately describe what we sell. This is Renee from the Laughlin Insurance Agency. Sure, affordable insurance is the means that allows us to do it, but what we really provide at the Laughlin Insurance Agency is peace of mind. It's true, worrying about risk can take the fun and joy out of almost every day how having peace of mind can lead to more enjoyment, which, last time we checked, is a fairly priceless commodity. Make life more enjoyable. Call us at 724-774-1230.
When Mary arrived for her second visit, she opened my door and danced from the door to my front desk with this huge smile on her face. And then she just started bawling. She starts to tell me that it was the first time in 12 years that she felt relief. And then I started to well up.
That's Dr. Sean Ritchie of Tri-State Neuropathy Centers. And Mary Danced In is just one of his thousands of success stories.
Peripheral neuropathy, if I can explain it in terms that they feel it, it's like if you would sit on your foot and your foot falls asleep, you start to tap it and it comes back to life. Or their foot never comes back to life. It's always feeling that numbness, that pins and needles, that tingling, and it just never goes away. So Mary comes in, proceed to hear that she's had this for 12 years. Got to the point where she was about to go into a walker. 2 days later, she's dancing.
For your free consultation, call 724-940-9000. That's 724-940-9000. Or go to marydancedin.com.
I'm Dr. Sean Ritchie, and I'm teaming up with Dr. Jared Yevans to bring hope to the neuropathy sufferers in Beaver.
Hi, folks. I'm with our good friend John Diagardi from Roe Monument. John, you were telling me earlier that people really should not rush into choosing a memorial for their loved one. Now, why is that?
We found that families need to take ample time to grieve first. Grief is not something that we get over, but rather something that we learn to live with. So the length of time to grieve varies from person to person.
You mentioned that the monument can't be placed right away.
That's right. There are certain things that need to take place before a monument can be installed. So it's really worth taking time to think about how to plan and design a memorial that truly reflects a person's life. It's actually a healing activity that helps to alleviate grief.
John, this makes a lot of sense.
It does, and when the time is right to proceed, not only can Roe Monument help families choose and design their memorial, we can help them save as much as 50% by eliminating the middleman.
Thank you, John. Folks, you can learn more simply by visiting RoeMonuments.com.
Falling in love is one thing. Having anxiety about falling is a whole different subject. If you or a family member are concerned about falling, and yes, either up or down the stairs, or maybe even out of bed, St. Barnabas has a special message and some ideas just for you. Years of experience in working with people who are prone to falls has given St. Barnabas special expertise in this area. Call them at 724-443-0700 and learn about ways that you can begin to feel more confident and safe, including suggestions that you can implement right now into your daily routine. Call St. Barnabas at 724-443-0700. For many years now, St. Barnabas has been helping people fall, in love that is, with their new, better life. A longer life, a risk-free life. Call St. Barnabas now at 724-443-0700 or visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com and learn more about living longer and better.
Hey, it's time to wake up, Beaver Valley. Hi, this is Pastor David Grove from the Church of the Redeemed of Beaver Valley. After over 2 years on the air, it seems that some of you still cannot get up in time. So I've got good news. Wake Up Beaver Valley is moving to a new time, now airing from 9 to 10 this and every Saturday morning. It's time to wake up and turn our hearts back to the cross of Jesus Christ. So I invite you to wake up early this Saturday. To find out more, it's Wake Up Beaver Valley, Saturdays from 9 until 10 a.m. on Beaver County Radio. God bless you.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Frank Sparks.
Hey, good morning on this Thursday morning, November the 10th of 2022. Your Beaver County Radio weather forecast for today is calling for sunny skies, high up to 68 degrees. We'll have your complete Beaver County Radio weather forecast coming up, including your wet Veterans Day, right after we have this look at news. 32-year-old Dorian Carver was shot and killed by 23-year-old Zaire Simmons after a dispute in Scott Township last night. The dispute began at the Taco Bell along Cochrane Road, where Carver, an employee, and Simmons, his supervisor, got into a dispute over a prior corrective action taken against the employee. Officials say that Simmons then followed Carver into Northwestern Mutual on Cochran Road and shot him in the lobby of the building. Carver was pronounced dead at the scene. A warrant was obtained for Simmons' arrest. He turned himself in to Allegheny County Police. He is currently in the Allegheny County Jail awaiting arraignment on charges of criminal homicide and a firearms violation. During the investigation, it was learned that the firearm Simmons used in the shooting was stolen on October the 6th of 2022. Anyone with information on the incident is asked to call 1-833-ALL-TIPS. Callers can remain anonymous. The city of Aliquippa residents have voted in the home rule charter favor. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano has more.
Aliquippa Councilman Donald Walker commented on the 1,928 residents voting in favor of home rule charter study. He said the people have spoken. Walker said if we want an all-inclusive government that is transparent, then you have to let the people be a part of how it is run, and with that, the understanding of the policy and procedures that election officials have to follow. The vote on the study is part of the city's exit plan from Act 47 for 2023, so the residents should have a bird's eye view of what it looks like for them. And then residents of the city part in how the city will be governed. Tamu Gilbert was elected as the city's home rule study commissioner. This is Sandy Giordano reporting for Beaver County Radio.
Incumbent Pennsylvania State Representative for the 16th District, Rob Matze, has been reelected to another term. Matze actually trailed his Republican competitor, Rico Elmore, going into the counting of the mail-in ballots this morning by 208 votes. Matze ended up beating Elmore by 3,505 votes. Matze said via text message that he is honored to have been chosen to continue representing his friends and neighbors in Harrisburg, and he is humbled to have done so by such a margin, especially in the light of negative ads and dark money that flooded into the race. The people of Beaver County know better and can't be fooled by special interest fat cats, no matter whom they may try to prop up. Matze said he will work hard for all the people of the district to the best of his abilities and will continue to fight for our shared goals of good jobs, good schools, better roads and bridges, safe communities, and opportunities for all. Simply put, I will represent in the Capitol with the core belief that I've never strayed from. Beaver County first, Beaver County always. Pennsylvania House Democrats are likely to make significant gains in the chamber. Some even see hope they could retake the majority once the smoke clears from the election that began with their party 23 seats behind the Republican majority. After Tuesday's elections, Democrats are facing a couple potential losses in western Pennsylvania and one in Wilkesboro. Republicans are trailing in key races outside Philadelphia and the others near Harrisburg, the Poconos, and the Pittsburgh area. Republicans hold the chamber 113-90. That means Democrats would need a net pickup of 12 seats to retake the majority for the first time in 12 years. Election day was busy for most news outlets, but some employees of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette are still out picketing and on strike for what they consider unfair labor practices of the newspaper's parent company. Danielle Smith has more.
Some workers have been off the job since October 6th, others since October 18th. An advertising account representative at the paper, Kitsy Higgins, claims workers at the Pulitzer Prize-winning paper have spent 5 years with no bargaining agreement, and some people have gone 15 years without pay increases.
We're looking for a fair contract, which is reasonable, an increase in wages, especially for 2022, and insurance along with just a bargain in good faith, which we're not having right now, which is unfortunate.
We reached out to the paper's owners, Block Communications, and a representative from the paper's marketing department responded with documents saying the paper is seeking a federal mediator's help in the dispute. And in a message to readers, Block Communications said the Post-Gazette has lost $264 million in the past 17 years, but the Block family remains committed to Pittsburgh and embracing the belief that high-quality independent journalism is critical to an environment that attracts and retains businesses and helps a region to thrive.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Sunny skies today with a high of 68 degrees. Mostly cloudy overnight tonight with a low down to 51. For your Veterans Day, chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. As remnants from Hurricane Nicole roll through our area, we are expecting around 1 to 2 inches of rain throughout the day tomorrow. High will be 65 degrees. There'll be some leftover remnants on Saturday morning with a chance of showers. Otherwise, it's going to be cloudy throughout the day with a high of 48 degrees. Sunday, partly sunny, high 40, and Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 42 degrees. That is a look at the news for now. I'm Frank Sparks, Beaver County Radio News, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, and beavercountyradio.com.
You're listening to Teleforum with your host, Eddy Crow. The numbers to call are 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. Join the conversation on Teleforum.
It is Teleforum. It is a special Teleforum. I feel like we should be playing some sort of Victor, Hail to the Victor song, because I have two Victor right now. Let me ask you this. Had you lost Jim Marshall, state representative, had you lost, you'd have still come in, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's never happened before, though, so hard to predict.
Yeah,
All he does is win.
All he does is win.
All he does is win.
And Josh Kail, who won, had you lost, I would have called you because you ran against no one. What happened?
I would want to interview myself if that were the case.
You know what? If I lost and I was running unopposed, I would. I'd have that conversation with myself. Let me have this conversation with you. It's not completely sorted out yet, but in general, your take on what the election has told us candidate-wise, good, bad, what needs to be worked on.
I think there was some bright spots for the Republican Party. I think there's some bright spots for the Democrat Party. I think one of the things that the electorate told us this cycle, not just here in Western Pennsylvania or in the Commonwealth, but across the board, is candidates matter. And people want to see a candidate that's out there pushing an agenda that matters, that they care about. And you see situations of what happened in places like Florida, where you had a strong executive there, and Ron DeSantis was running an aggressive agenda, and he was out front on issues, and he wasn't playing politics with things. He was just out there trying to solve problems, and he was rewarded by the electorate overwhelmingly, 20%.
He flipped places that they never, on their best day, thought he could flip.
Exactly. And you have other places where, you have candidates that can't get their message out to the media. You have candidates that can't, are talking about issues that the electorate doesn't care about. And you end up with results that aren't as favorable. I think people are getting away from just straight party voting. And I'm saying this generally. I'm not talking about anyone in particular. But I think people are getting away from the straight party voting. I think they're looking at each individual candidate, making a decision, and basing a decision off of the individual race and going forward from there.
Jim, what was your perception now that we've had at least a day to digest most of it?
Well, I mean, Josh hit it right on the head. Candidates matter. I mean, plays well with others. I mean, you have to be somebody that's pragmatic, somebody that's a problem solver, and you have to have real issues, and you have to be able to make sure. I mean, you have to sell that to people. You have to make sure that they know you're bought into the ideas that you're pushing for, and you have to have good work ethics too. I mean, candidates matter.
All right, Jim Marshall is the state representative from the 15th district. Josh Kail from the 16th district. How long does it take to get back up to speed legislatively? You said something interesting earlier. You said you're always in this cycle. We were talking about election because it's a 2-year term. You're kind of always paying attention.
Yeah, so legislatively, from a technical standpoint, it's going to be, beginning of January when we get sworn back in. We're not technically in office for the month of December. And so beginning of January, but that doesn't mean that we're sitting around eating potato chips or eating donuts, right? I mean, we're working on getting our district offices up and running. In my case, Jim is making sure that it's running smoothly. We're going to events locally in the district. We're going out there and making sure that we have a pulse on our district and what's happening within our district, because if you lose that, then you're not representing your district right. And so that's where I'm going to be for the next month and a half, is making sure that we're out there talking to people and just knowing what problems we need to solve. And sometimes it's as simple as knowing where the potholes are in the roads. and calling PennDOT and assisting and things like that. So that's where we're going to be the next month and a half. Legislatively, that process begins January 3rd this year when we get sworn in. We vote on a speaker. The committees get organized shortly thereafter. Middle of January, you start having those types of meetings.
How does that work when committees get organized? Is it like is it like Jan Brady trying to sign up for all the cool clubs?
Well, yeah. So there's a mixture of things. It's based off of seniority. It's based off of the Speaker of the House appoints the majority chairs. The minority leader appoints the minority chairs, and those are the people. The chairs are the individuals that really run the committee. And then the speaker decides where candidates or elected officials end up going as far as which committee they go to. So it's a lot of work for the speaker and for chairs like Jim Marshall. But that's where a lot of the legislative nuts and bolts are done. And we should be pleased to have Jim as one of our chairs here in the county, and Rob as well to have one of our chairs. Having that seniority does matter for the area, and we're still going to have that with Jim, and it might be a different chairman position. We don't know, but maybe Jim can talk about that a little bit more.
I could see you leaning into him a little bit. Jim Marshall, what's your committee going to be this time? You got the seniority.
I do. It's hard to predict. I mean, consumer.
What do you want?
I want to be able to fix things. So I like infrastructure. Transportation is interesting. Consumer affairs is interesting. It deals a lot with utilities. I'd love to be able to serve at Veteran Affairs Committee. I mean, it's important. It does not only veteran affairs but first responders. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and I'm not certain exactly what committee I'll have the opportunity to lead.
Do you have an agenda when you head back to Harrisburg? Forget the election for a second. I'm just talking about the break. Josh, when you head back to Harrisburg, is there a number one thing that you want to address?
As far as next legislative session?
When you go back, what did you say, January 3rd?
Yes, 100%. The number one thing that we have to address is the rising cost of energy. And I'm not just talking about gas prices. I'm talking about electricity. This winter could be very difficult for consumers. I know my wife just talked to me about it. About the rise in our energy costs and our electricity bill. And there are things that the current administration, the Wolf administration, has done, like getting us into the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative that doesn't actually help the environment, but does and will increase our electricity costs by 30%, that Governor-elect Josh Shapiro has said he's against. And I think that's number one thing we need to do is get out of that Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, because people are going to be hurting with their electric bills, and we need an energy policy that's grounded in reality so that we can forge forward and take full advantage of the natural resources we have here, while also being protective and being smart with our environment.
Jim, what's your first move?
Certainly energy at home and manufacturing at home. You know, we have to build things here in Pennsylvania. We have to encourage people to support the local small businesses that drive our economy. And we have to make sure that folks that want to be able to work from home, educate their children from home, or even telemedicine from home, that they have broadband, that they have the ability to use the internet to assist them. And so that's important. We're working with the counties, and certainly Beaver County is a leader in improving the quality of broadband in underserved and unserved areas. There's always a lot. I mean, transportation, certainly we have to make sure that we can sustain our roads and bridges, and there's no money from the general fund going to that. It's all from services through PennDOT and purchases from gasoline. So there's always a lot to do, Eddie.
So one of the things that he mentioned was about broadband. And I got to say, one of the reasons why Beaver County is ahead in broadband is because of this guy right here, Jim Marshall, and the work that Lance Grable and the county commissioners have done has been remarkable. And I think it's important to note how valuable it is to have somebody that does understand how Harrisburg works, but also understands that he needs to be a force for change and be productive in getting stuff done and solving problems. And that's been Jim Marshall, and he's been an excellent representative and will be. I'm excited to see what we can do going forward. I think something that Jim mentioned that was very important to note, just the connection between the two. I said energy costs. He said manufacturing and energy costs.
Mm-hmm.
We actually don't get manufacturing being made here if we keep artificially jacking up our energy costs, because the number one or two cost in manufacturing is energy, and we have an abundance of it here.
How to run the factory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we are artificially jacking up the price because of bad politics and bad policy coming from the last or current administration. Hopefully that can change with the next administration.
Well, that leads me to my next question. State Reps Aaron, or flashback for a second. Josh Kail and Jim Marshall are my guests. How hopeful are you that the new administration will be a group that you can work with better? How difficult is it? How difficult was it at the end with Governor Wolf?
I got to tell you, so with Governor Wolf, I mean, it's difficult to the extent that a lot of people are retiring in the last couple of months and are moving on to different jobs. So you have openings, vacancies. So, the wheels of our state government don't move very quickly as it is, but they especially don't move quickly going right now. I got to say, with the next administration, I'm with Governor-elect Josh Shapiro. I mean, he basically ran as a Republican. He said he wanted corporate tax cuts. He said he wanted school choice. He said he wants to get us out of Reggie. He said that he wants regulatory reform, permitting reform. I hope he's serious, and I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that he is serious, to deliver the things that he said that he wanted. My concern is that he pivots and he governs very from the left, but he promised the electorate, he promised the people of this Commonwealth that he was going to govern more or less as a Republican. He took our agenda and just basically touted it and acted like that's his agenda, which is fine. If he's serious about getting those things done, he talked about wanting to get school choice done and permitting reform and tax cuts and all these other things. If that's what he wants to do, I mean, let's do it. Let's get this done. Let's come together. Let's work together to move this Commonwealth forward. I'm glad to hear and see that there is a general consensus, at least during election season, at least when it's time to get people's votes, there's a general consensus that the energy industry is a great thing for us, that we need to get our tax policy together, that permitting is a huge problem, that we need school choice, we need kids to have choices and parents to have choices when it comes to K-12 education. There's a general consensus when Republicans and Democrats are running on it. I just don't think he's going to want to deliver on those things, because I think he said what he said to get elected, and he knows that. But I think it's important for us out of the gates to take him at his word and trust and verify, and I think that's how we're going to move forward with him.
And Jim, does that give you hope that the talking copy or the talking points of his campaign are things that, and Josh, what you said is exactly right. Those were Republican talking points that we heard. Does that give you hope that, okay, he said that, now there's a chance we can do that?
Absolutely. I think that Governor-elect Shapiro knows how to govern. He knows he's pragmatic. I served with him in the House. Lieutenant Governor-elect Austin Davis, I served with. He was a member of the committee that I chair. Austin Davis' parents are hairdresser, bus driver, regular guy from Allegheny County. He gets it, and I think that, that team will be able to work with us because they served with us. I think that's important.
How hopeful are you that the hyper-partisanship can fade now that the need your vote has faded?
If we need to move forward and really lower energy costs and build it here again, we have to move forward together, and we have to do that across the aisle, and we have to be able to work with everyone.
Did it give you an idea that maybe the extreme left and extreme right isn't as big a deal anymore because of the election results, especially on a national level?
I think the extremes are highlighted by social media, personally. I think that in reality, I think there's a lot more people in the middle.
I think social media does play a part. What's very interesting to me is I think something that's important in politics for us to move from is we have to start talking about issues. This constant just pounding of individuals in politics and the national narrative, and I think both sides certainly have a part to play in it. But I mean, when MSNBC for a period of 2 years can't stop pounding the last president, and they want to make everything about Trump and pounding this one individual, and then other people want to make everything about another individual. The politics of personas needs to go away. We need to start talking about issues. I know it's not as sexy. I know it probably doesn't get as many clicks. It probably doesn't play well in ratings, but issues matter. And I think what the electorate showed us was they want us talking about issues and issues that they care about. And I think that's how we got to govern going forward.
Do political campaigns put too much stock in what they see on the internet? Number of clicks?
That world is...
I don't know. I'm not even in that world, Eddie. I'm
Wait,
not.
you're not...
I don't follow...
You're not freaking out because some bazillionaire bought some platform?
I'm just focused on serving in Beaver County, and I try to stay away from social media altogether.
I think one of the societal problems that we have today is a total disconnect with reality. And I think, and not to get partisan here at the end, but I think
you just won an election. You can say what you want.
A lot of the Democrat policies that have been driving people away from their party are doing so because they're disconnected with reality, whether it's environmental policy, social policy, whatever it is. And I think we're also seeing a disconnect with reality as it comes to social media. And unfortunately, I think that has turned our politics into a WWF-style politics. And I do think we could see a pendulum swing the other way and just stay serious on the issues. And we can have robust debates and robust disagreements, and we should, because issues matter, and the direction of the country and how we get there matters. But the cult of personality and the kind of the whole, yelling into the microphone and talking crap on other people, like, we don't need that in politics. It's just, it's not helping. It's not moving any agenda forward, and issues are what matter.
We need people more interested in, young people more interested in being an engineer or a nurse or a doctor or a farmer than not an influencer.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the rule is, right? If you have to tell someone that you're an influencer, you're not.
I don't even know what an influencer is.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm an old soul.
No, that's good.
I don't even know what it is.
It's somebody that goes on the internet and declares that their opinion is far more important than your opinion.
But I know what a steam fitter is.
That's right.
An operating engineer and iron worker.
Yeah, when your heat goes out, call an influencer.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
What should I have asked you that I didn't? Josh Kail has been my guest, state representative for the 16th district, and Jim Marshall, state rep for the 15th district. Jim, what should I have asked you that I didn't ask you? I know you got to go. You're going to the veterans breakfast, or you got things going on.
We all do, and again, we'll all be at the veterans parade.
The parade is on rain or shine.
Yeah, rain or shine.
Rain or shine, New Brighton.
In New Brighton.
Yeah.
And I know the community college is hosting a veterans breakfast right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage everyone that served to go up there and be served by them and our Senator, Elder Vogel. I think you covered it all. I'm trying to think of what you might have missed. I mean, you're an expert at this, Eddie.
No.
So I think there's two things that you missed. One,
see, there you go.
One is
he's a whippersnapper.
How does Jim Marshall keep pulling off the fancy dress every time he comes in? Fancy dressing. Fancy dress came off wrong.
Yeah.
But he's got this nice jacket on.
He does. Stand up and give us a spin. Stand up and give us a spin, state rep.
And he just keeps doing it. He keeps doing it time after time and show after show and day after day. And it's admirable.
Well, thanks, buddy.
Dress for success. As opposed,
I do like this, the outfit. But the other thing is our office. I mentioned it earlier. We talked about it earlier. It moved to Vanport. It's over by the car wash down.
Car wash.
From,
He's from Washington County.
The wrong
man.
So if you get off 376, you head towards Midland and not towards Beaver. It's
Midland,
right there on the right.
yeah, same.
So we are getting a sign together. We're getting the office together. It is open. It may not look like it's open, but it is open. And we are looking forward to serving you for another 2 years. And thank you, Eddy, for the interview. I'm looking forward to getting moving on a new agenda and a new day going forward.
All right, final question for Josh Kail. How many kids you going to have this year, man?
Well, we got one coming.
Again?
We got one
well,
coming.
No, that one I knew. Okay.
Yeah, number 8. Number eight is on her way. She will be here end of December.
Keep swinging. You'll have an opening day roster.
That's it.
Thank you both from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Eddy.
Thank you, Eddy.
Josh Kail and Jim Marshall, my guest on Rappin' with the Reps on Teleforum.
Your community, your radio stations, originating from the St. Barnabas Control Studio in Beaver County. 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and